It's time for the audible Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom, and Giants and Carolina. Not exactly starting out with a scorcher, Bloom, but it did have to go to overtime before this one was decided. We got 8 games to go to in the Week 10 reactions, going over the early games. We'll have some afternoon game thoughts, and it's Carolina 20. It's the Giants 17. Let's start talking about Daniel Jones. How he didn't win a couple of picks. I guess it's just Daniel Jones. Tyrone Tracy, totally a bright spot here. 1,000% for the Giants. And Jones had a rushing touchdown, whatever. But Tracy, a little worried about him being banged up, but he comes back, is 18 for 103 and a touchdown in this contest. Exactly what you want there. Malik Neighbors, 6 for 50. He'll be better with a better quarterback next year. Wan'Dale Robinson, 5 for 51. Why am I talking about any of these guys other than Neighbors and Tracy? But the Giants go to Carolina. Carolina, you got to stop winning. If you want something different, you got to stop winning. You're winning too many games.
Yeah, 3 is too many. During this game, and at this point in the season, Week 10, we're now officially in the second half of the season, and the off-season storylines are starting to come into focus for some of these teams that are obviously not going to the playoffs. And this game, again, big top 5 draft capital implications here. And Daniel Jones just bad enough to lose. And this is one half. He was missing 2 open receivers on a flea flicker. This is the worst defense in the league, and Daniel Jones was not moving the offense. You almost thought he wasn't going to come out as the starter in the second half. Not that Drew Lock was better when Drew Lock played, but at some point, again, the offseason storyline here is, do you just hit the complete reset button? GM, head coach, it was a package, remember? And they didn't have to sign Daniel Jones. I mean, maybe we come to find out that ownership, I don't feel like the Giants ownership is the kind of ownership that puts their thumb on the scale of football decisions. So you made that choice.
Ownership.
No. You made your bed, now you got to sleep in it. For fantasy, we're looking at Tyrone Tracy. We're still going to keep playing Malik Neighbors, and it's time to throw in the towel. We'll see what they do. But now I think they were number 1 when this game was over, but then the Jags lost, so they're number 2. But they're going to have a chance to take a quarterback. You just want to do it with a new coach, a new GM, because Tyrone Tracy, Malik Neighbors, that's enough. And this offensive line actually played well. That's the other thing. Against a bad defense, offensive line played well. Daniel Jones, a 96-yard drive at the end to send it to overtime, the thrilling overtime. But underwhelming for fantasy, underwhelming the Daniel Jones, Brian Dable era for the Giants.
Bryce Young goes 15 of 25, 126 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no INTs. The touchdown to Ja'Tavion Sanders. Dynasty pin in that guy for sure. Jalen Coker as well, 3 for 41. Love seeing his progress as a young undrafted player. Xavier Legette, their first rounder, 3 for 40. There's more here, and not just David Moore, but there's more here if they just had a different quarterback. Chuba Hubbard with his new contract, 20. Who needs Jonathan Brooks? 28 for 153 and a touchdown, and then 4 for 16 as a receiver. So definitely benefiting his fantasy GM's day. And yeah, Carolina feeling good-ish. Are you not thinking about the draft, Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, and you get it. You want to make, Dave Canales is not going to get fired at the end of the year. At least he shouldn't get fired at the end of the year, just because how do you ever expect to build anything if you automatically don't trust the decision you trusted a year ago? Now, Bryce Young's decision was 2 years ago. So they're going to do something to reboot at quarterback this offseason. But you want to build a winning tradition, and obviously the player they want to build that around is Chuba Hubbard. So hubba gets that. Cease. Exactly 0 people, I guarantee you this, exactly 0 people had Chuba Hubbard getting a $30 million 4-year contract in the middle of the season. So good for him. Let's just celebrate him and what he's done for fantasy teams. Jonathan Brooks may be back after the bye, but I think we'll keep telling you to put Hubbard in the lineup as long as you can until Brooks and he are splitting the backfield, which may not really happen this year. They may just get Brooks' feet wet. And then Bryce Young is a game manager. And maybe we'll talk about Jalen Coker or Xavier Legette as what the heck flex type plays whenever the Panthers are set up to lose and lose big, but that's obviously not against the Giants.
Do you like gut punches? Because this next one was a gut punch for a Broncos country. It is Broncos and Chiefs, and last second field goal is blocked. Hey, Broncos, you had them. You went to KC and you had them, but you lose 16-14. The final score. Kansas City, brilliant in the way that they held on. I'm being sarcastic. Bo Nix, 22 of 30, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. 1 to Cortland Sutton. They're force feeding him. Good, 6 for 70 and a touch. 1 to Devon Vele, 4 for 39 and a touch. Adam Troutman did a little bit. Lucas Kroll did a little bit. The game plan included more Marvin Mims, which is a thing. It didn't really work, but whatever. And then Audric Estime is taking over in this backfield. Jaleel McLaughlin may get the start, and Javonte Williams may get nothing. But Audric Estime with 14 carries for 53 yards. Didn't fumble it. He's holding on to the rock, but you've seen a change there. Probably coming to a shut him down near you is one Javonte Williams. With the Broncos fight hard after getting their ass kicked by Baltimore the previous week, they go on the road again against Kansas City, where they haven't won since 2015, and still lose.
Still lose, but now we're no longer snickering or saying, well, but look at the opponent. Well, but they did it through some sort of trickery or some sort of smoke and mirrors or some sort of fluke. This looked like a legitimate competitive Broncos team with a quarterback who didn't look like a rookie in a setting where a lot of quarterbacks, Kansas City defense is a good defense. All right. So Bo Nix, as you said, you got the connection with Sutton, you got the connection with Vele, and they just need a running game. That's the thing. And this team now, with this not win, the football gods, because my brain wants to fill it in as a win, because what it does is it makes them credible. If they can get into the 6, 7 seed in the playoffs, go on the road and face a Buffalo, face a Baltimore, face a Kansas City, now they're a credible opponent. And maybe Audric Estime can get things going. But I'll say this, and this is a sign maybe that the NFL writers are a little bit too predictable, Cease, because I don't think that block surprised anybody. I think if you've been watching the Chiefs this year, you would have been surprised if Will Lutz had just hit a chip shot field goal. That would have been surprising in the year 2024. It was surprising that the Broncos were so competitive, even though they have a good history competing against this team. And it's a hopeful day, but like you said, Cease, right now you're just doubled over in pain.
Yeah, it's gut punch, nut punch. Sorry, Joe. You got hit in the nads. But if you're Kansas City, you're celebrating. Mahomes is running around after that game like you won the Super Bowl, which he's done quite a bit, Bloom. It's
Good.
Like, no, you can save the celebrations for when you win the Super Bowl. You beat a 500 team.
Right.
And you did it with Kareem Hunt, question mark, but 7 for 65. You saw the game plan was to stop the run, which they did. And Hunt gets a heavy workload. He just hasn't, yards per carry has been a little bit lower. Whatever. The results are there. They're undefeated. Kareem Hunt, 7 for 65 as a receiver. Travis Kelce just can't stop him. 8 for 64 and a touchdown. Could have had more. DeAndre Hopkins could have had more. 4 for 56. Had a touchdown. Hit him in the hands from Pat Mahomes. So, and Mahomes was under pressure 9 times. 9 quarterback hits in this one. 4 sacks for Mahomes. So standing strong, taking those shots, run around a little bit, and distributing it to the guys that he could rely on, like Kareem Hunt, like Travis Kelce, and like Nuke Hopkins.
Yeah, but this is that boring. And credit to the Broncos defense, okay? Credit to the Broncos defense for making Kansas City look like the boring Kansas City offense. It was Tampa's defense. It wasn't just that Tampa's defense is that easy to move the ball on through the air. It wasn't that, add Nuke Hopkins, and all of a sudden glory days are back for Kansas City. Give Denver an assist, but also put in perspective how impressive Baltimore's performance against this defense was last week after watching what Kansas City can do. Now, put Kansas City and Baltimore together, I have no idea what's going to happen. But I do know that Travis Kelce's going to catch a lot of passes every week because in the boring Kansas City offense, he's a viable target. He becomes the all-time Chiefs receiving touchdown leader. On a 4th down, the only touchdown Kansas City got, they had to go for it on 4th down. So there's a lot of ways that this game could have broke differently. They made Kansas City settle for field goals 3 times on drives deep into their territory. Bend but don't break defense. Nuke comes back to earth a little bit, but like you said, Cease, there was a touchdown there. Hunt always finds an out for fantasy. No touchdowns this week, but does get 7 receptions, racks up some yards on a few of them. But like you said, Cease, you're celebrating being Denver. Okay, I guess the way they did it was delightful, but there's a pretty serious Buffalo team waiting next week for Kansas City.
Yeah, Buffalo, you got to get them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Memo to Buffalo. The next week doesn't really matter. Get him in the postseason, man. Like, come on.
Somebody do it.
When you mentioned potential playoff matchups for the Broncos, Bloom, you did not mention the Steelers in that one.
Tebow Payne. Tebow, I can't talk about the carousel with you. You can't talk about Tebow to Demaryius Thomas. That never happened.
There we go. Why'd you apologize to Russell Wilson? I said, now my Twitter timeline is filled with, you and Sigmund should apologize. Like, nah.
Is this a beautiful transition to Pittsburgh, Washington?
1000%. It's Steelers and Commanders and a controversial spotting call. The Steelers get the win 28-27. Russell Wilson 195, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. George Pickens, beautiful, amazing. What else can you say about him? 5 for 91 and a touch. Mike Williams, new guy, 1 for 32 and a touchdown. And then Pat Freiermuth, 3 for 17 and 1 touchdown. I just want the Steelers to have a tight end that we can do a chant to, like Heath or Muth. Jalen Warren leading the way on the ground. We had talked about it on the Waiver Wire show. Back out there. There you go. And then Najee with the most carries, 21-53, and then 1 rushing touchdown there. So let's talk about how the Steelers did it. And again, Bloom, why are you apologizing to Russell Wilson?
Yeah, well, first, I want to say, as a Steelers fan, this was wonderful. This was the first win the Steelers have had, 5, 6, 7 years that felt like a peak Mike Tomlin era, Ben Roethlisberger era win. They go on the road. They face a good team that plays well against them. They have some breaks go for them. They have breaks go against them. A very emotional game, a very physical game. And in the end, they make the plays they need to win. And see, why am I apologizing to Russell Wilson? If I can say the word apologizing, I'll apologize for that. Because I never really believed or bought in. And some of this is stuff that you and I have talked about off the air. Russell Wilson has never been, I think, a true leader of a team. But maybe this is a Steelers team with such great culture. And the one hope I did have is that he would just come in and be an employee after what happened in Denver, after the way things ended in Seattle. That he would, and he's getting in NFL terms an employee salary, just come in and be an employee. And maybe everything about him supporting Justin Fields, everything about him being a professional. I know they're talking about him taking the team out to dinner now, like the offensive line dinners now have expanded to be like anybody who wants to come can come to the dinners. And his experience, because I think that looking at what he did, was it Nathaniel Hackett? Was it Sean Payton didn't trust him? Was it that really you can't run an offense with him? And maybe there's some apologies in line for Arthur Smith also, because there does seem to be a really good grasp of this is what Russell Wilson does. This is what he does well at this point in his career. And even going and getting Mike Williams. And the Steelers made 2 very subtle moves at the trade deadline that already made them look very smart. One was the Mike Williams trade. Now, a lot of people thought they overpaid, but Mike Williams, what can he do? He can win on deep balls. What did he do to win this game? Win on a Russell Wilson deep ball. And that's it. That trade already justified itself. You can get 1 win for a 5th-round pick. You do that every time. Then Alex Highsmith making a key sack goes down, and it looks like a bad injury, But who did they trade her for? Preston Smith. It's not just another body either. Preston Smith's a pretty solid player. So the Steelers, they're in it. And now with this kind of win on the road against a good team playing well, just in time for the toughest second half schedule. They tried a fake punt at their own 15 and it worked, except it didn't work. I mean, the call worked. The gunner was uncovered. They just didn't make the throw. That led to a touchdown for Washington, but then they got a muffed punt back. Najee Harris got banged up in this one. Let's watch this. Jalen Warren should have scored a go-ahead touchdown or have a chance. He did the thing where you turn your back to the defense and everybody starts pushing you, and Washington did what defenses should do, start ripping at the ball. How many times do we see players score on those plays? That's also a play when the ball is just sitting there stationary, basically, for someone to go after. Warren fumbles at the 1. Warren looks good, though. Let's watch the injury report on Najee Harris as Warren looks good here. And you know what George Pickens is doing with Russell Wilson. But this is a team that played up to their opponent on the road, got plays from the defense and the offense to ice the game, And now we're going to find out what they're made of in the second half of the year.
Yeah, 2 games against Baltimore. Good luck with that one. Good luck. Good luck with New Orleans internet. Watch your tabs. Get a little muddy. A little watery sometimes. Commander's side of the ball, Austin Eckler with 2 rushing touchdowns, 13 carries, 44 yards, also a catch for 7 yards there as well. Terry McLaurin, 5 for 113. Noah Brown, 3 for 33. Zach Ertz, 4 for 31. And then, of course, Jaden Daniels, 17 to 34, 202 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs, though. Sacked 3 times, of course. Steelers harassing him all day. And then, a controversial spotting call gives the Steelers the ball back. And, well, Commanders, they lose.
Yeah, again, the touchdowns set up a good 2-minute drill, the miss on the fake punt. Terry McLaurin had a long catch and run touchdown, down to, and he got another reception down to the one, and McNichols finished that one. But otherwise, the Steelers made Jaden Daniels look very mortal in this game, just like they do to Lamar Jackson many times when they face him. That's who they face next week. And obviously a poor showing for Washington for the passing game for Jaden Daniels and the fantasy output, but that's because you had 3 rushing touchdowns. If 1 or 2 of those go to Daniels, you're not as disappointed. And it is a tough Steelers defense. And that's where we stand. We'll see if Brian Robinson's going to be back. Austin Eckler remains someone you got to play. They give him the goal line carries, and that's how he came through for you. Terry McLaurin remains someone you have to play. Zach Ertz, not someone you have to play, and that was the controversial call. It was Zach Ertz catching the ball, coming back over the first down line on 4th and 9. I believe Washington was 11 for 11 on 4th downs this year before that play. And then Minkah Fitzpatrick comes in with a good hit to keep him from getting any momentum. He also kind of goes down to a knee at first. Classic Zach Ertz, right? I mean, he wasn't touched yet. He goes down to a knee. Then he gets touched short of the line. And the whole time they were reviewing that cease, I could only think of Jesse James. That's all I could think of. As a Steelers fan, this stuff stays with you. Now, that was a bigger stage, a much more hated opponent.
Right.
But, this was it wasn't pretty in terms of this is one of those games that, of course, Washington fans are going to say the refs jobbed them. But there were calls both ways in this game. Both teams were emotionally spent, physically spent, a sign of a good game between 2 very good teams. And there's going to be another one next week whenever Washington goes to Philadelphia.
Yeah, and the Commanders, it shows how they're going to operate under Dan Quinn. It's more than just Jaden, and I love Jaden, but it's more than just him. It's the way they're going to fight. They went toe-to-toe with the black and blue division, and they got punches in, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you're a Commanders fan, again, kind of like a Broncos fan, you feel jaded, but you're like, hey, we did a little something. By the way, Joe says, music recommendations for getting over a blocked field goal for a loss. What's the saddest metal band? I don't think they're metal, Bloom, but I'm going to say a name. And if you know who they are, well, brother, I'll be a little bit surprised. Sleep Token? I don't think Sleep Token is metal per se. They're just, have you ever heard of them? They're very dramatic.
Sleep Token, yeah.
Yeah, very jot it down. I want to see you jot it down. Sleep Token. They're very dramatic.
Sleep Token,
yeah.
Writing.
You ain't got to lie to kick it, Craig. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, maybe Ian's cat says Death. Listen to Death. Love me some Death. Yeah,
Death is great. Great Detroit band. Great documentary about them, too. Actually got to see them the night their documentary opened in Austin, and it was a very uplifting story. And later on, you can see 2 of the members from Death actually were in a reggae band in Burlington, Vermont that used to play with Fish back in the 80s when Fish was brand new. And they took a version of Fire on the Mountain, which is a Grateful Dead song, and they turned it into Fire Up the Ganja. Sorry, Joe.
Pass it to the left, Joe. Anyway, people love Death, the metal band, and of course, Sleep Token as well. Again, I don't think they're metal, but whatever. And now the show is off the rails. Let's talk Vikings and Jaguars. That'll get us back on track, right? Yay, Vikings side. What's wrong? Question mark. Sam Darnold? Question mark. 12-7, the final score. Now the Vikings get the win. Okay, good. But as you're watching this game and Jacksonville's like leading, and you're like, wait a second, what? How? Or as Sir Smoke-A-Lot would say, sorry, Joe, why? Sam Darnold with the 3 picks. That definitely doesn't help things. TJ Hawkinson, 8 for 72. Okay, we're watching that. Justin Jefferson, only 5 for 48. Jordan Addison, only 2 for 25. Aaron Jones, 17 for 88 on the ground, but 13 for 38 for Cam Akers. So there was more of a role there. And then Aaron Jones gets a couple of catches for 13 yards. So they win, Sigmund, but it's like, okay, what? Wait a second, what? Jacksonville? You struggled with Jacksonville?
Yeah. Mac Jones, Jacksonville. More on
Right.
that later. And if you're a Vikings fan, do you just root for this slide to continue? They're past the tough part of their schedule. This was supposed to be like the opposite of the Steelers season. They're supposed to cruise to a playoff berth. And if you're a Vikings fan, do you hope that this continues, that Sam Darnold remembers who he used to be? He reverts to Jets Sam Darnold so that they don't re-sign him, so that you just get on with the J.J. McCarthy era? Or do you still root for your team to win? Because that's just kind of the default setting. Darnold with interception after interception. One of them, Ronald Darby, fumbled after a 50-ish yards return. Red zone interceptions to the goal line. Just felt like the magic is over. Last week, that first half against Indy where, again, it was so frustrating. They just couldn't score. They could move the ball, but they couldn't score. The second half, everything's fine. They win. Darnold throws some touchdowns. Everything's fine. Now, it doesn't feel so fine. A lot of catches for TJ Hawkinson, but that's not good in the sense that you're not stretching the field. Justin Jefferson is not stunting through the secondary. And if you're saying back in August, well, I'm not going to take Justin Jefferson because Sam Darnold's not good for his value. Well, today it looked that way. And we'll see. Again, the schedule doesn't indicate that, but who had Jacksonville's defense looking this good in this game, holding them to field goals, only field goals? Or was that just Sam Darnold unforced errors? Aaron Jones got banged up. This one looked like ribs, midsection, did come in before the end of the game. Cam Akers got to be on a roster in every league after that, though. Although, again, Minnesota's offense doesn't feel as good as it did before. Josh Oliver was honestly a bigger factor in this one than Justin Jefferson. And again, going to Tennessee next week. Easy game, right? But this was supposed to be easy.
Yeah, and it wasn't. Only Jock in the Village says, Darnolding harder than he's ever Darnold.
Yeah. Really.
Okay, I like that. Darling? Yeah, something. Yeah. Facebook user. I don't know why StreamYard's doing this now, but every Facebook user is just Facebook user. Anonymous Facebook account says, give the Jacks some credit, guys. Their defense is playing good. Come on.
Yeah, Ryan Nielsen, I think, right?
We're there. Yeah, we're there. We'll talk about Jacksonville. Mac Jones, 14 or 22, 111 yards, no touchdowns, 2 INTs. Evan Ingram, 6 for 40. Brenton Strange, 2 for 25. Gabe Davis, why am I reading him? Poor Brian Thomas, 2 for 12. Travis Etienne, 11 for 44. It was Mac Jones with a rushing touchdown that gives them their only score of the day. So let's discuss it, and let's, properly praise Jacksonville's defense, who kept them in it, and Mac Jones did his best to keep them out of it.
Yeah, that's why they lost. Mac Jones had a rushing touchdown and 3 turnovers. I mean, that's the thing. Mac Jones turned the ball over 3 times and otherwise didn't really move the ball. You're going to play Evan Ingram. I understand if you're benching Brian Thomas at this point. Don't think we're going to see Trevor Lawrence again this year. Jags have the number 1 pick. All you got to do is keep losing, Jags, and you can have the number 1 pick, and you can take Travis Hunter. Would Travis Hunter go to Jacksonville? Cease.
Yeah. I believe he grew up in Georgia, not Florida. People have mistakenly said that, and I might have that backwards, but I think he's Georgia initially, not Florida.
SEC country.
Yeah. No. Travis is him, as the kids say.
Yeah, so there you go. That's what you have to look forward to. Tank Bigsby gets hurt in this one, ankle, can't stay healthy. Travis Etienne, I guess, a what the heck flex going forward. Maybe we'll see CJ Beathard. I mean, Mac Jones is not that guy. And Jacksonville gets a moral victory. I mean, this is really what you want. You want to lose, but you want to lose in a way that shows some pride and some effort. Although next week, you might want to call in sick because you're going to Detroit.
Hey, Saints and Falcons is our next game up, and these two teams hate each other, and well, it's a Saints win. Win one for Dennis Allen. Oh, wait. 20-17, the final score. Saints get the win over the Falcons. Kirk Cousins goes 23 of 38, 306 yards, no touchdowns, 1 INT. Drake London, 8 for 97. Darnell Mooney, 5 for 96. Kyle Pitts, 4 for 55. And then Bijan Robinson, 20 for 116 and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Algier with 11 for 59. And Bijan also had 3 for 28 as a receiver. So Falcons skill position players do what they need to do. Cousins doesn't throw any touchdowns, though. And they go on the road and lose.
Yeah, spirited defensive performance. Bend but don't break. A lot of yards through the air. And Bijan Robinson looks tremendous. 37-yard touchdown where he's dragging defenders into the end zone. Got the other touchdown after Tyler Algier was stopped at the 1 3 times. So if you went with Tyler Algier this week, it should have worked. The Drake London's okay. And then there was just some turnovers and some sacks at the end when Atlanta was trying to overcome 3 missed field goals by a young Wei-Ku, including one that was blocked. So better execution on the Saints side of the field or better kicking, and maybe this would not have been a loss. And by the way, I didn't mention this when we were back on Denver. Atlanta goes to Denver. There's a Super Bowl rematch for you next week. And Atlanta still has a 3-game lead because they swept Tampa. So, you're not sweating yet, but I guess you just have to chalk this one up to the Rizzy effect.
Yeah, that's right. How about this? Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 3 for 109 and 2 touchdowns. All right, Derek Carr, 269, 2 touchdowns. Okay, Alvin Kamara, 17 for 55 on the ground, 5 for 54 as a receiver. Taysom Hill, pretty much having to do everything, 2 for 36 as a receiver, and then 4 for 14 as a rusher. I honestly thought there would be more of Taysom with as banged up as the wide receivers are for the Saints. It was MVS and Kamara doing most of the damage, and there's a little bit of Taysom Hill. Just a little dash, Bloom.
Yeah. Who had this on their bingo card? The redemption story of Marquez Valdes-Scantling. The redemption story of Derek Carr. As the Saints were fired up. I mean, you could tell this is a classic ding-dong, the witch is dead victory. No longer under the thumb of Dennis Allen. Or Darren Rizzi said that this morning he clogged the toilet in the coach's bathroom. That's how his day started. That's kind of what he inherited with the Saints. And he unclogged the toilet. They get the plunger out. Get the W. Make it clear. Right? Jameis Winston needs to figure out some way to incorporate that into one of his pregame speeches, right? It's a simple offense other than Marcus Valdes-Scantling getting free behind the defense twice and getting a short touchdown also. It was Alvin Kamara, and he did have a drop on a play that could have iced the game and gotten him another 3, 4, 5 fantasy points. That's okay. And then Taysom Hill, like you said, Cecil, he was stopped on 4th down early in the game. And he usually does well against the Falcons. You expected more. He had a big play, a 30-plus yard reception early in the game, and then things kind of settled down. So New Orleans, well, they don't necessarily need to draft high for a quarterback because they're stuck with Derek Carr. Maybe they want to be stuck with Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Speaking of Jameis Winston, that's who's coming to the Superdome next week.
Okay, there we have it. San Francisco and the San Francisco 49ers against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the next game up. San Francisco barely winning this one. Let's talk about it. It's 23-20, the final score. Now San Francisco is 5-4. The Buccaneers are 4-6. Brock Purdy, 353, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. And, the 353, so you'd think, Bloom, okay, somebody had a monster game and then everybody else was all right. Everybody had really good games. I mean, let me run down this box score.
Yeah.
7 for 93 for Juwan Jennings. Cool. Ricky Pearsall, 4 for 73 and a touch. Cool. Christian McCaffrey, 6 for 68 as a receiver. Cool. Deebo Samuel, 5 for 62. Cool. George Kittle, 3 for 57 and a touchdown. That's also cool. So
yeah.
As a team, McCaffrey had 39 yards on the ground, and he's back. And I think it was our buddy Ian Hartitz that said, yeah, sex is one thing, but if you ever activated Christian McCaffrey off your IR, there you go.
If you have a record better than like 4-6, 4-5.
Right. Maybe some delays, right, Bloom? There's some pills. Forget them pills, girl. We got Christian McCaffrey on deck. But look at what Purdy did and distributed the ball. That's a thing, right?
Yeah, and again, this is Tampa, the Tampa defense. We mentioned this when we were talking about the resurgence of Patrick Mahomes and Nuke Hopkins. And you might say, oh, because Tampa's on bye next week. Well, who's going to get to beat up on this pass defense for the rest of the season? Las Vegas, the Giants, Carolina twice, Dallas, the Chargers, and New Orleans. So not exactly fantasy bonanza when you look at the quarterbacks that are going to face them. But when they face a good quarterback and a good offense, this is what happens. Everybody was a good play. Ricky Pearsall with a catch on touchdown. You can tell that Juwan Jennings is Purdy's guy when he needs a catch. I'm telling you, Brandon Marshall. I mean, if Brandon Marshall had run a 4.72, just the way he plays, the physicality he plays with, it's pretty rare at the wide receiver position to have that kind of mentality. And Jennings has it. Kittle made a toe tap touchdown catch that any wide receiver would be proud of. Any wide receiver. And this is a moment I want to just say that George Kittle is one of the best players in the NFL, period. No qualifications. And he's a very rare player in baseball. I'm going to talk baseball. He's the classic 5-tool player because that's George Kittle, right? That's George Kittle. What are the 5 tools? Pass blocking, run blocking, route running, winning at the catch point, and winning after the catch. George Kittle does all of those things. And he's a Hall of Famer in my book. I mean, he's a prototype tight end. Honestly, if we hadn't just seen Rob Gronkowski, you'd be talking about him as like the prototype tight end. It's just that Gronkowski physically was a different level than anybody, especially as a blocker. Jake Moody missed 3 field goals in this one, or San Francisco could have won easier, but also he made the one at the end after Tampa tied it up. And yeah, Tampa, I mean, it's going to be tough for this team to make the playoffs, but I think that this is another game that makes you feel like this team is in good hands. And you can see, so when a team doesn't have a quarterback, we'll say, well, it's the draft, keep losing. You got to get out of the draft. Tampa found their quarterback and they didn't need the draft to do it.
Let's talk about Baker, the baby maker. 116 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs. Rachaad White gets the receiving touchdown, 6 for 39 as a receiver, and then 10 for 31 as a rusher. Bucky Irvin with the damn toe still goes 13 for 73 and a rushing touchdown. So thank you very much. I guess the 3-headed committee is over. Sean Tucker didn't get anything. Kate Otten, 5 for 35. And again, we're talking about Rachaad White as the leading receiver because everybody seems to be hurt in terms of receivers with the Buccaneers. So this is what you get. Hard fought at home, but a loss.
Yeah, still, that they were this competitive is really a testament to where they are. It's a testament to Liam Cohen, who has remade this offense around the backfield after losing the wide receivers, doing this on the fly. And I think it says a lot about the organization that the offensive coordinator is given that kind of freedom. And that Baker Mayfield, again, Liam Cohen said he took this job to work with Baker Mayfield again. And you can see why. And you're going to look at this stat line for Baker Mayfield. And if you did play Baker Mayfield after he had a decent game against a tough Kansas City defense last week, then you're going to say, oh, you know, that what, ho-hum. Look, when the game was 2017 and Tampa was trying to drive to tie or win the game, and they had a bunch of chances to win at the end, but how? Okay, play number 1. Nick Bosa has got his hands. He's got a handful of Baker Mayfield's jersey, okay? Nick Bosa has, what, Cease? 3-4 inches, 50, 60 pounds on Baker Mayfield? More, sure. Maybe more, okay? Mm-hmm. He has a handful of Baker Mayfield's jersey. Baker Mayfield stiff arms him with one arm and makes a throw for a first down. And Bosa rode him a good 5 or 6 steps. Kind of play. I can't remember another play like that, Cease. And then later in the same drive, he's first clotheslined, somehow gets out of that, then endures a face mask and somehow gets out of that and still makes a completion. Now, the face mask penalty helped Tampa get down, but look, I mean, that's my quarterback, those kinds of plays push a team to the next level in terms of investment. He's all in, I'm all in. And Baker Mayfield, before our very eyes, is becoming the best version of Baker Mayfield, which is pretty good. A pretty good quarterback in the NFL. I don't care about the fantasy stats. And again, the backfield, you're going to play White. Irving is a fantastic runner. And Irving and Kyron Williams are just going to teach us, if the numbers, measurables, say one thing, but the tape says something else, you know what we're trusting when it comes to an NFL running back. All right? I don't care about the measurables. Juwan Jennings, another one. I don't care about the 40. Watch him play. Kate Otten's cooling down a little bit. Mike Evans should be back after the bye. Now, I just mentioned Cease, Las Vegas, Giants, Carolina, Dallas. Maybe this team could get hot. Maybe this isn't the last we heard of the Bucs in the playoff picture.
A little bit of a bye, get a little bit of a break. By the way, Tip Major says, what are your thoughts on Ricky Pearsall going forward?
Yeah, well, you can see the explosiveness, and I think the way you describe the picture is what we're going to see going forward. Maybe not quite as souped up because you're not going to play Tampa every week. Next week, Seattle, though. So I think you have everyone in their right roles. Pearsall after the catch, Jennings at the catch point, Deebo Samuel, not a true number one. Maybe that's something else we could take out of the San Francisco stat line. He's not a number one receiver. I think it's why they're not finding a big trade market for him. He's not a traditional wide receiver. San Francisco uses him to his fullest, but he's used in that very specific Deebo Samuel role. George Kittle in the middle of the field, and when you got to get a play, he makes a play. And then Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. Everybody in the right place. Radiohead, passing game, everything in its right place.
There you go. By the way, Media Credit says KSC sucks ass. Okay, Bloom, you're perplexed, right? You're
KSC?
not a local Avs or Nuggets fan that hasn't been able to watch their games in 5 years.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
We just got to be able to watch the Pelican. Go ahead.
Well, good old Brian here is a big Avs fan, and he hasn't been able to watch his guys in 5 years, so he's upset.
Yeah, well, we just got the ability to watch Pelicans games as I'm wearing my Pelicans jersey today, New Orleans Pride. Just this year, you can just put a little antenna on your TV and finally watch the games. And hey, I am a new house dropout, so we can talk some media because the media critic is the one bringing this up. How do you build a fan base if you can't watch the games in the local market?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's not what sports is about anymore.
It's an old, outdated regional sports network. That's why.
Yeah.
People don't watch bass fishing. Sorry. They'll watch the Nuggets games. They'll watch the Avs. And hopefully watch this show on YouTube. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe here as the Audible rolls on. Our 19th season. That means we got 20 coming up, baby. Let's make it happen. Let's make Bills and Colts happen. And this one gives us a lot to talk about, especially on the Buffalo side, as they are rolling. Of course, a big game for them coming up as well. But let's talk about this big game. 30-20 is the final score. They are 8-2. Colts are 4-6. Josh Allen goes 280. No touchdowns, 2 picks. All right. Mac Hollins, 4 for 86. Khalil Shakir, 6 for 58. Dawson Knox, 2 for 40. Curtis Samuel, 4 for 35. There's Dalton Kincaid, 2 for 24. James Cook, 19 for 80 and a rushing touchdown. And then Josh Allen, 8 for 50 and his own rushing touchdown. So no passing touchdowns for Josh. Couple of picks for Josh there as well. But a win that further distances themselves from the others in the conference. Buffalo is one of the elite.
Yeah, they are. And they find a lot of different ways to win. And this game wasn't the best fantasy game for Josh Allen. This is a floor game for him because you saw a couple touchdowns, one rushing touchdown for him, one for James Cook, one defensive touchdown, some field goals. And that they could win comfortably over Indianapolis. Shakir was an okay play. Mac Hollins has still got game. And he's not just a decoy out there in deep leagues. There might be something there until Amari Cooper gets better. We'll see. Keon Coleman sounds like he's weeks away. Dalton Kincaid, this was supposed to be a big game. He got free for a touchdown, would have been like 25, 30 yards. Allen missed him. Allen was a little off early in this game. I mean, this seems to be, maybe this is hints of some of the stuff you've talked about in the past or hinted at, that, early in the games, it feels like Allen sometimes has to shrug off some rust, but then gets warmed up in the second half. And you see that guy happen against Houston. So Kincaid also got hurt in this one. Of course, Dawson Knox, talk about him on the waiver wire show tomorrow. He had a big play as we wait to hear the prognosis on Kincaid. Again, Buffalo faces KC next week. Like you said, don't do what Cincinnati did. Don't just play it like your Super Bowl or your AFC championship game. That's for January. This game's important, but they're going to win their division going away. And they don't want to show Kansas City everything. And, well, they don't really have everything now, but they had more than Indianapolis.
Yeah, more than the Colts with Joe Flacco. This was supposed to be better. 272, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. Now, Alec Pierce, 4 for 81 and a touchdown. Cool. Josh Downs, 7 for 72. all right, we were looking forward to these things. AD Mitchell, what's that? 6 for 71 here. Kylan Granson talk. Tyler Goodson gets the other receiving touchdown. Jonathan Taylor, 21 for 114 on the ground. Curious, with Flacco in the mix, does it mean Anthony Richardson's coming back?
Right?
What's up? What's up, Colts? Right?
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. The universe is tweaking the Colts, because if the idea was, well, we have to take Anthony Richardson out because we want to give the team a better chance to win, we want to have a functional offense, we could, for the other 52 guys. Well, doesn't that apply now?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Joe Flacco pick 6 right away. First, I mean, you barely even sit down with your popcorn and your beer or whatever you got at the game. Pick 6. Okay. You're not going to win. I mean, this is why he was a street free agent, and he can still do more than most street free agent quarterbacks can do. And he's got all this experience, but no, he's not going to be that guy despite what he did for Cleveland last year. And Josh Downs. Okay. So that Flacco's going to throw a lot. Josh Downs actually dropped an easy touchdown, or he would have had a good game. Pierce gets the garbage time touchdown. AD Mitchell, he's got juice. He's been inconsistent, but you see with Michael Pittman out, we'll talk about him on the Waiver Wire show. But was it worth it? Was it worth it to make this statement, wherever the statement came from, whoever the statement came from? Was it worth it? Whatever it was about, tapping out of the game, inaccuracy, wins and losses, because now something that could have been simple has become complicated. And Cecil, I would just say, just as a very quick tangent, who are we asking here? DeForest, Buckner, Quentin Nelson, and I know Quentin Nelson is a big Anthony Richardson fan, okay? Because I think that this is a moment in time, because Shane Steichen moving up higher and higher on those lists to get fired in the offseason.
Oh, yeah.
Is it come back to the veteran players? Chris Ballard? Who's going to take control of the direction of this franchise? Because they're in the void right now, and only Anthony Richardson can get him out of there. But he needs somebody to open the door for him.
And it's questionable whether or not Anthony Richardson can actually do that. But you pull the Flacco ripcord way too soon. Way too soon.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe bench him for the first play. I don't know. But tapping out was weak sauce. Like total weak sauce. In this league, where guys bleed for this game and fight for this game, tapping out because I'm tired is weak.
Right.
So Richardson can save him, and he probably can't.
But see, to that point, yes, tapping out is weak sauce. Where Richardson went wrong more than anything else was telling the truth when he was asked, and not knowing that it was weak sauce. Because players are doing weak sauce stuff every Sunday. Weaker sauce than that. Okay? But they also know the code. And so it's that he's again, he's new, he's green. This is one of those moments that he's learning how it really works. And I'm still rooting for him, but at the same time, maybe the Colts don't deserve an Anthony Richardson who reaches his peak. Maybe he can't in this organization.
Why are you bringing up facts, Bloom?
Yeah.
Someone was on his debate team. That's for sure.
Master debater, I am.
That's true. Sorry, Joe. Sorry, YouTube overlords. What'd you say? Patriots and Bears to wrap this thing up, and we'll go over some afternoon thoughts as well. Easy peasy. Patriots 19-3. All right. Eberflus? Really? Okay. Whatever. We knew this was never going to work. Change the staff. Well, here's Waldron, whatever. I feel so bad for Caleb. I'm skipping New England. I'm not skipping New England. Back to New England. Drake May, 15-25, 184, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. We're seeing Drake figure things out. A little hero ball, a little not hero ball, whatever's whatever. Gets the Jalen Polk receiving touchdown. Have that on your bingo card. Austin Hooper's the leading receiver. Have that on your bingo card. There's Demario Douglas, 4 for 50. Cool. Keyshawn Boutte, 4 for 47 in this one. Hunter Henry, only 1 for 14. Oh. Ramondre Stevenson, 20 carries, 74 yards, and then a catch for 3 yards. So they win. They win going away. They play defense. And Drake May, again, this whole season with May is just kind of getting his feet underneath him as a passer and figuring things out.
Yeah, and you've got to feel great about this game. And look, this is one team where because they have their quarterback, if they keep winning to get out of the top 3, top 5, further back in the top 10, that's okay because you're building something here and you're building something with Jared Mayo that I think all signs pointing to they got this hire right. And Drake May, I know you're really excited to play him for fantasy. It was a tough defense, but it wasn't because it was a tough defense. It was because they won easily. More on how that happened when we get to the Bears side. But you should be excited about Demario Douglas. In a game, maybe against the Rams next week, for instance, speaking of Super Bowl rematches, this was a game where they're going to have to pass more. You're going to like Douglas. Even one Hunter Henry, who didn't do much, Austin Hooper had a big game. So the tight end is still in these offensive play designs, getting opportunities. Ramondre Stevenson, bigger game going to come for him. This was a game script for him, but they just didn't need to press. Didn't need to press in terms of going for touchdowns or high risk plays. Just put another feather in Drake May's cap. And again, a good matchup against the Rams next week for him to learn. But honestly, if you're a Patriots fan, I don't think you could ask anything more out of the season at this point. You just get to sit back and enjoy watching your team.
Yeah, I enjoy watching them and watching them build. And if you're a Chicago fan, you just go, when are we firing everybody? Caleb Williams, 16 to 30, 120 yards. No touchdowns, no INTs. Keenan Allen, 5 for 44. DJ Moore, 3 for 24. He's got to be pissed. Roma Dunze, 3 for 23. He's a new guy. He's got tremendous upside. Everybody does. Cole Kmet should do more. DeAndre Swift should do more. Roshan Johnson should do more. Hell, I'd say Khalil Herbert would still do more if he's even there anymore, and he's not. But it's like this entire unit is underperforming talent upon talent upon talent. I have to watch guys not named Cortland Sutton run around every week at practice and in games and be like, wow, it's not great, Bob. I don't get to watch Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Roma Dunze and Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet's better than all the Broncos tight ends combined. So it's like you have all this talent, you have a young quarterback that's got tremendous ability, and you get 3 points.
Sometimes we see on one side new faces, new ideas, and on the other side the same old organizational problems. And normally we'd say it's ownership, okay? In the terms of the Bears, though, it's not. I mean, it is ownership in the sense that they're just stuck in the 20th century, early in the 20th century. If there's an organization that needs somebody like a Bill Parcells, Sean Payton type character, a football czar, maybe this is where Belichick ends up. Who knows? Somebody that will just completely remake the culture of the team and their image, just to change it from what it continues to be. Because no matter what version of Ryan and Matt and a high quarterback pick, it just ends up the same. Just up in the same place. And is it the Shane Waldron hire? Is it the Eberflus hire? But you can just keep going back. The human centipede of bad hires. This is where we are with the Bears, and it's bringing Caleb Williams down. And Caleb Williams at this point in his young career doesn't have the ability to overcome the Bears' malaise. And I think the biggest decision, I think Eberflus is gone and the coaches are gone, but do they keep Ryan Poles? Because other than the trade that Carolina just walked into, hey, in a league that I'm out of it, somebody sent me a trade offer unsolicited for, I have McCaffrey, and they gave me 2 first-round picks for him. I never would have asked for 2 first-round picks at this point in McCaffrey's career. Sometimes that happens. I think that's what happened to Ryan Poles. I don't think he's a good GM. I don't see any other evidence he's a good GM. Now, do the Bears have people in charge of the organization that are going to understand that what need to be done? No half measures, no incremental changes. That I can't say. 20 some drives, they passed 20 during the game without a touchdown in this one. And you talk about how long is Eberflus going to be there. They face, out of their last 8 games, 6 are against the NFC North. That's Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay. And Green Bay next week. And the other 2 are San Francisco and Seattle. So does he even make it to the end of the season? Well, maybe he shouldn't. He probably still shouldn't be there now. And this is a game where both of these teams have their quarterback future, but one team's feeling a lot better than the other.
Any thoughts for the afternoon trio of games that is going on right now, including Arizona putting it on the Jets?
Right? Arizona. Hey, do not sleep on this team. They're a balanced team in terms of offense and defense, even though they have a no-name defense, in terms of running the ball and passing the ball. And Kyler Murray can flip the field sometimes with his ability to keep plays going. I think you have alignment between coaching and personnel and players. And yeah, the Jets, well, no, that was just the Texans having an offensive line collapse. No, the Jets are not back. The Eagles were maybe making it harder than it needs to be, at least at halftime against the Cowboys with Cooper Rush. The Cowboys is their Super Bowl. You know, their defense playing with a little more pride now, getting some players back. Chargers, you saw a touchdown. Will Levis back, touchdown to Calvin Ridley. He can do that. And Will Levis has not been terrible this year. It's just that the plays that he's been bad on have been so bad that it's overshadowed everything else he's done. So Chargers, of course, maybe this is good that he got the touchdown because you want to see some more of Justin Herbert in this offense, and we are seeing that today as the Chargers. Look, and I'm saying this as a Steelers fan, I'm a neurotic Steelers fan, but I'm a manic depressive Steelers fan, but I'm manic today because look at Kansas City, look at Baltimore, look at Buffalo. The Steelers and the Chargers should not feel like it's not their turn. You know, I mean, you have enough now that I think any of those 5 teams, you put them together in a game and pretty much anything could happen. And those are the 5 teams that are credible Super Bowl teams. It makes me excited to look forward to the playoff season. Know we're probably going to see at least 2 or 3 combinations of those. Next week, we're going to see 2 of them: Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Buffalo. Yeah.
Let's get it on. As Peyton Manning would say, there ain't nothing easy out there.
No.
Not.
That's why it means so much.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay. How you feeling, Bloom? We good? What's going on here?
That's the best Steelers win in years. I take back. Here it is, Cecil. Here it is. I take back everything mean I have ever said or thought about Russell Wilson. I take it all back. I
take nothing back.
That's because you're Cecil Lammey. And I'm Sigmund Bloom. And this is the Audible.
That's right. And we want you to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And again, wherever they come up, because I have no idea, watch the other videos that are on the screen in front of you at some point of when I say this. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty?